In the world of football management, there is no such thing as the perfect man. Pep Guardiola overthinks in big games. Jurgen Klopp gets exhausted and burns out. Jose Mourinho wins, but he eventually destroys the locker room. But then, there is Xabi Alonso. He looks like a movie star. He speaks 4 languages. He played for the best clubs in the world. And as a manager, he did the impossible. He turned Neverkusen into Never Losin'. He seems to be the chosen one, the man destined to save football. But if you look closely at his bloodline, and if you look closely at the history of Real Madrid, you will see that this story does not have a happy ending. This is the story of a man bred for greatness, and why his dream job will eventually become his nightmare. To understand Xabi Alonso, you have to look at his father. Perico Alonso was a legend of Spanish football, a hard-tackling midfielder who won 2 league titles with Real Sociedad and then moved to Barcelona. Xabi didn't learn football in an academy. He learned it in his living room. While other kids were watching cartoons, Xabi and his brother Miguel were watching VHS tapes of matches. There is a famous photo of him as a toddler on the pitch at the Camp Nou. He isn't smiling. He is staring at the ball, studying it. But the real magic happened on the beaches of San Sebastian. Xabi played for a tiny amateur club called Antiguoco. It wasn't the famous academy, but on that one small team, in the midfield was Xabi Alonso, and his best friend was a boy named Mikel Arteta. Think about that. The future manager of Arsenal and the future manager of Leverkusen passing the ball to each other on a muddy pitch in the Basque Country. They were obsessed. They didn't just want to play, they wanted to control. It is no coincidence that this small region in Spain produced Alonso, Arteta, Unai Emery, and Julen Lopetegui. They are taught that football is not just a game, it is a chess match. One would go on to become the architect of North London, the other would become the professor. But Xabi had something his father and Arteta didn't have. He had elegance. When Xabi became a professional, he did something very smart. He decided to become a thief. He played under the greatest minds in history, and he stole something from each of them. The first lesson came at Liverpool, under Rafa Benitez. The year was 2005, the miracle of Istanbul. Liverpool was losing 3-0 to AC Milan at halftime. The game was over. But in the locker room, Xabi watched Benitez change the tactical shape. He watched him remain calm. In the second half, Liverpool scored 3 goals in 6 minutes. Who scored the equalizer? Xabi Alonso. He missed a penalty, but he reacted faster than anyone else to smash in the rebound. That night taught him the most important lesson of his life. No matter the score, you are never dead until the whistle blows. After Liverpool, he moved to Real Madrid to learn from the master of the dark arts, Jose Mourinho. Mourinho taught him that football is war. He taught him how to be aggressive, how to manipulate the referee, and how to build a defense that is unbreakable. Then came Carlo Ancelotti, who taught him the human side, how to manage egos, how to keep a dressing room full of superstars like Cristiano Ronaldo and Sergio Ramos calm under pressure. And finally, the finishing school, Bayern Munich, Pep Guardiola. Pep didn't treat Xabi like a player, he treated him like an assistant coach on the pitch. He taught him juego de posición, positional play. By the time he retired, Xabi Alonso wasn't just a former player, he was a Frankenstein monster of management. He had the tactical brain of Pep, the defensive discipline of Mourinho, and the calmness of Ancelotti. In 2022, he took a gamble that could have ended his career. He went to Bayer Leverkusen. You have to understand the context. This club was cursed. They were known as Neverkusen. In 2002, they lost the league, the cup, and the Champions League final all in the same month. They were famous for choking. They were the punchline of German football. When Alonso arrived, they weren't fighting for titles. They were in the relegation zone. The players were depressed. The fans had given up. Most managers would have tried to play it safe, park the bus, survive. Alonso did the opposite. He switched to a 3-4-3 formation, but it wasn't defensive. He took two wingbacks, Grimaldo and Frimpong, and told them, "You are not defenders anymore. You are attackers." It was suicide on paper, but on the pitch, it was magic. Leverkusen suffocated teams. They played with the control of Pep Guardiola, but the speed of Jurgen Klopp. Florian Wirtz became the best playmaker in Europe. Granit Xhaka, a player Arsenal fans laughed at, became the boss of the midfield. But it wasn't just the tactics, it was the mentality. Remember the lesson from Istanbul? You are never dead until the whistle blows. Leverkusen started doing something strange. They started scoring in the 90th minute, again and again and again, against Dortmund, against Karabakh, against West Ham. Whenever they were losing, they would find the goal in stoppage time. The fans stopped calling it Fergie time. They called it Alonso time. 18 months later, the relegation team was invincible. He didn't just win the league. He broke Bayern Munich's 11-year monopoly. He went 51 games unbeaten, the longest streak in European history. The world fell in love. Liverpool called him to replace Klopp. Bayern called him. But Alonso said no. He stayed. Why? Because he is waiting. He is waiting for the one call that every manager dreams of. It is written in the stars. Xabi Alonso will become the manager of Real Madrid. He fits the profile perfectly. He is a Madridista. He is handsome. He speaks elegantly. He is a winner. But this is where the fairy tale turns into a tragedy. Because Real Madrid is not a normal football club. It is a meat grinder. Being the manager of Real Madrid is the most dangerous job in sports. Look at the history. The Bernabéu is a graveyard for coaches. In 2003, Vicente del Bosque had just won 2 Champions Leagues and 2 La Liga titles. He was a club legend. But the president, Florentino Perez, fired him in a hallway. Why? Because he said Del Bosque didn't look modern enough. He wasn't a star. In 2015, Carlo Ancelotti had just won La Decima, the 10th Champions League the club had waited 12 years for. The fans loved him. The players loved him. But one season later, he finished second in the league, and he was fired immediately. Zinedine Zidane won 3 Champions Leagues in a row. 3. And even he had to leave before they turned on him. The Bernabéu demands more than just winning. It demands perfection every single week. If you draw 2 games in a row, it's a crisis. If you lose to Barcelona, it's a funeral.
And so, the tragedy is complete. Xabi Alonso went to Madrid in the summer. The presentation was beautiful. The fans chanted his name, but he lasted just 7 months. He arrived as the savior of football. He leaves as a cautionary tale. The problem started almost immediately. The rumors leaked from the dressing room within weeks. Xabi wanted a system. He wanted discipline. But you cannot tell Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. to play like wingbacks. The clash was inevitable. The system versus the superstars. The press reported that the players were confused. They said Xabi was too rigid. They wanted freedom, he wanted control. The locker room was lost before Christmas. But the final nail in the coffin came this week in Saudi Arabia, the Spanish Super Cup, Real Madrid against Barcelona. El Clásico. It wasn't just a defeat, it was a humiliation. Barcelona didn't just win, they outplayed Xabi's team in every department. Florentino Perez watched from the stands. He saw the lack of intensity. He saw Vinicius arguing with the bench. He saw a team that had stopped listening. And the axe fell. He didn't care about what Xabi did in Germany. He didn't care about the project. At Real Madrid, losing a final to Barcelona is an unforgivable sin. 7 months. That is all it took for the meat grinder to destroy the chosen one. The headline is no longer a prediction. It is reality. Real Madrid sacks Xabi Alonso, and the cycle has begun again.